What specific problem does your proposed method address in the visual reasoning domain, and why is it important to distinguish between global and local tasks?
The proposed method addresses the significant issue of evaluating and enhancing the reasoning capabilities of modern computer vision models, which often rely on local features and shallow information rather than engaging in deep, multi-step global reasoning. This distinction between global and local tasks is crucial because local tasks can often be solved with minimal information from a small subset of the visual input, while global tasks require a comprehensive understanding of the entire scene, making them inherently more complex. The paper highlights that current benchmarks fail to rigorously test models on global reasoning, leading to a gap in understanding their true capabilities. By introducing datasets that necessitate global reasoning, such as graph connectivity and maze solvability tasks, the work aims to provide a more accurate assessment of model performance in real-world scenarios. This differentiation is vital for advancing the field, as it encourages the development of models that can perform complex reasoning akin to human cognitive processes, which is essential for applications like autonomous driving and other intricate visual tasks.
Can you illustrate step-by-step how your proposed method, particularly the visual Scratchpads, works in aiding multi-step reasoning in visual tasks?
The proposed method utilizes visual Scratchpads to facilitate multi-step reasoning in visual tasks by breaking down complex problems into manageable subproblems. Initially, the model generates a single-frame Scratchpad that visually represents the reasoning process, such as coloring nodes in a graph or cells in a maze, which helps the model understand the connections necessary to determine the final label. During training, the model learns to predict both the label and the Scratchpad image, using cross-entropy loss for the label and mean-squared loss for the Scratchpad, which enhances its ability to learn from visual data. For more complex tasks, the inductive Scratchpad model is employed, where the model predicts multiple frames in a sequential and Markovian manner, relying only on the last generated frame or the input image to produce the next frame. This approach allows the model to adaptively compute the reasoning steps required, leading to improved performance on both in-distribution and out-of-distribution samples, as it learns to generate intermediate reasoning steps that are easier to predict than the final outcome.
Could you provide a simple illustrative example of how the inductive Scratchpad model operates during the reasoning process for one of the tasks, e.g., cycles task?
The inductive Scratchpad model operates by generating a sequence of frames that represent the reasoning steps needed to solve the cycles task. For instance, when presented with an image depicting a graph with nodes and edges, the model first predicts the initial Scratchpad frame based on the input image. This frame might show the coloring of one node, indicating the starting point of the reasoning process. Subsequently, the model uses this first frame to predict the next frame, where it colors additional nodes that are connected to the first one. This process continues in a Markovian manner, where each new frame is generated based solely on the last frame produced, until the model reaches a halting signal. The final frame will depict the complete coloring of the graph, allowing the model to determine whether the graph is connected or not, thus providing the final label for the task.
What are some theoretical or practical benefits of using visual Scratchpads compared to traditional methods for visual reasoning, particularly in terms of model performance and scalability?
The use of visual Scratchpads offers significant theoretical and practical benefits over traditional methods for visual reasoning. Firstly, visual Scratchpads enable models to break down complex global tasks into simpler subproblems, which enhances their learning capabilities. For instance, the single-frame Scratchpad model can learn tasks that were previously unlearnable, regardless of model size or pre-training. Secondly, the inductive Scratchpad model, which generates multiple frames in a Markovian manner, demonstrates superior performance in both in-distribution and out-of-distribution settings, allowing for better generalization to more complex problems. Additionally, the hierarchical staircase learning behavior observed in models using Scratchpads indicates that they can learn incrementally, improving scalability as task complexity increases. Finally, the visual Scratchpad approach reduces the globality degree of tasks, making them more manageable for models, which is crucial for tackling high-globality datasets that are challenging for traditional methods.
How did you validate the effectiveness of your proposed method? Please specify the experimental design, datasets used, and the metrics employed to assess performance.
To validate the effectiveness of our proposed method, we conducted experiments using our 4 proposed datasets, which include the cycles task, strings task, and maze solvability tasks. Each dataset contained 1 million training samples, allowing us to assess model performance across various complexities. We compared 3 different model architectures: the no Scratchpad baseline, the single-frame Scratchpad model, and the inductive Scratchpad model, which utilized varying sizes of vision transformers, VITs, with parameters ranging from 22M to 632M. Performance metrics included accuracy on both in-distribution and out-of-distribution OOD samples, where we specifically evaluated the inductive Scratchpad model's superior OOD generalization by training on simpler samples and testing on more complex ones. The results demonstrated that the inductive Scratchpad model learned all proposed tasks effectively, even with smaller models, while the no Scratchpad baseline failed to exceed random accuracy, confirming the necessity of the Scratchpad approach for tackling high-globality tasks.
What specific results did your experiments yield regarding the performance of your method across various tasks, and how do these results compare to existing baselines or previous models?
Our experiments demonstrated that the no Scratchpad baseline failed to learn any of the proposed tasks, achieving only random accuracy across all datasets. In contrast, the single-frame Scratchpad model showed improved performance, successfully learning the cycles and maze tasks for larger models, although it struggled with the strings task. The inductive Scratchpad model, however, outperformed both the no Scratchpad and single-frame models, successfully learning all proposed tasks even with smaller model sizes. Additionally, the inductive Scratchpad model exhibited superior out-of-distribution OOD generalization, achieving nearly perfect accuracy on OOD samples, while the single Scratchpad model performed only slightly better than random. These results highlight the effectiveness of our visual Scratchpad approach in enabling multi-step reasoning and improving model performance on complex visual tasks compared to existing baselines.